I feel like my patrons are just indulging me at this point. Another excuse to watch Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Don't mind if I do. Hey there, creepy peeps. I'm Nightmare Maven. Welcome back to my channel. If you happen to be new here, welcome. I talk about spooky movies, books, just all spooky things all year round. So if you end up liking this video, you should subscribe. Do yourself a favor. So thank you to Catherine for requesting this review of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I've talked about it in passing, but never gave it the full dedicated video treatment. So here we are. I'm sure the majority of you have seen the movie by now, but just in case, a little refresher on what the film's about. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies follows a group of friends who gather at one of their parents' mansions to ride out a hurricane. Everything is going fine until the power and internet go out. Cut off from civilization, the friends turn on each other when one of them is found dead. So I am going to talk about spoilers in this video because the movie has been out for a while now. But this is not a film that you want spoiled for you. So if you still haven't seen it yet and you've been lucky enough not to have the ending ruined for you, don't watch this video. Go watch the movie first. It's worth it to watch that first time not knowing anything, and then you can just come back. So what I find so great and so hilarious about this movie is that the ultimate villain, if you want to call it, the catalyst for literally everything that happens pretty much aside from the hurricane, is toxic masculinity. Everything kicks off, obviously, when David is found dead outside in the storm. But at the very end of the film, after nearly everyone is dead, Sophie and Bee find out that David accidentally killed himself after drunkenly trying to open a bottle of champagne with a sword for a TikTok. It's just a hilarious way to end the movie in general, but it's made even funnier by the fact that David's fragile male ego causes all of this to happen. When Sophie and Bee first arrive at David's house and we start meeting everybody, we can tell that David is a little bit annoyed by Greg's presence. Greg is this much older guy that one of their friends, Alice, met on Tinder, and the other girls seem to like him, or at least they aren't threatened by his presence like David is. And we also learn in this introduction that David got into a fight with another character, Max, who we don't see until the very end of the film, over David's girlfriend, Emma. So already from the get-go, David is having problems with the only other two male characters in the movie. He's threatened that Max confessed his love for David's girlfriend, and he's threatened by this much older, much cooler male who isn't part of their friend group but has been invited nonetheless. Then once the party gets going and they start playing Bodies, 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 the girls end up turning on David because David has just made fun of Greg one too many times. And in this moment, David storms off to go film the TikTok, obviously, which we find out later, which again is him trying to open the champagne with a sword, like Greg, who successfully did that earlier in the film. So David goes on social media to get validation because he's not getting it from any of the people in his house. And I would like to mention too that Greg's death also kind of reeks of toxic masculinity a bit. As a character, Greg is definitely a tool. Anybody can tell that. It seems very much like he just relishes looking like the older, more mature, more put together man in the group. Feels like Greg plays this up a little bit when David starts making fun of him during the Bodies, Bodies, Bodies game. And it works in his favor because the girls kind of come to his defense in this moment, which is exactly what Greg wants. And you can see it in his face when him and David share that look before Greg goes up to bed. It's giving very much trying to establish dominance, alpha male behavior. Despite seeming mostly harmless and charismatic, Greg does get pretty aggressive when the girls come find him later after they find David's body, which is understandable, but I feel like he takes it a little too far because obviously he knows that he's ultimately bigger and stronger than the girls, which just comes across as more icky because at first Greg thinks the girls are just messing with him and they're still playing the werewolf game. And a moment that I love in the movie that's really, like, it's not the funniest line or anything or the most profound line, but in that moment, most of the girls think that Greg is a veteran. So Jordan says that statistically he is the most likely to be able to murder somebody, or or just the most likely to murder somebody out of the group there in the house. The joke later on is they find out he's a veterinarian, but Jordan's not wrong, actually, statistically speaking. Greg, David, and Max are all the most likely to be murderers amongst that entire group. I don't know if that's meant to be part of the joke or I read too much into that, but I found it really funny. And then of course, after killing Greg in self-defense, things just get even more chaotic as the girls start accusing each other, and they're still worried about Max, who up until this point hasn't been seen in the movie at all, but we know he's out there somewhere. Obviously, the other huge theme in this movie is the cast of Gen Z, chronically online characters who have been cut off from social media. Although I reject what I see to be the low-hanging fruit theme of this movie, that oh look, Gen Z is cut off from social media and then they all go crazy and start killing each other. Personally, I think what makes the movie work so well is that it feels like a hyperbole of older generations would think would happen to Gen Z if they were cut off from the internet. Because when you think about it, any one of us, anybody would freak out if you were isolated in your house during a hurricane, the power has gone out, the internet's gone out, you can't reach emergency services, and you can't drive out to go get help yourself, and you find your friend dead or hurt. Literally anybody would freak out in that moment. So in conclusion, toxic masculinity is the root of all evil. And isn't that just the damn truth? Bodies, bodies, bodies is just such a fun watch, even when you know the ending. I feel like that second watch after you really know everything that's going on is, I wouldn't say more fun than the first time watching it, but it's a different kind of fun. It's almost like watching it again for the first time. Again, thank you to Catherine for requesting this video. Check out my Patreon by following the link below if you want to find out how you can request a video every single month like this one. And if you ended up liking this video and you're giving it a thumbs up right now, you should subscribe. That's it, end of sentence. You should subscribe. So I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon with another one. Until then, stay strange. Bye.